Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well. My name is Natasha, and I'm with Priyanka and Sarah today. We'll be presenting this webinar about autism to families, parents, siblings, and anyone who may want to know more about autism. Today's presentation will be divided into three main parts. Firstly, Priyanka will be taking you through the introduction of autism. She'll be defining it and explaining the signs and symptoms of autism. Then, she will be discussing some myths and scientific facts when it comes to autism. Finally, she'll be discussing the challenges that comes with ASD. Then, I will be discussing the family aspect of ASD. During this section, I'll be taking you through the challenges parents and family face, stages of grief, and the best strategies to help during this time, support. Finally, Sarah will be discussing the interventions and guidelines that can take place after the diagnosis, and steps on how to support your child. Finally, the do's and don'ts will be discussed. I will now pass it on to Priyanka to take you through the introduction of autism. Thank you.
Let's start with the definition of autism. Autism is lifelong developmental disability, significantly affecting verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. So what does it mean in layman's terms? It is presence of unusual developmental and behavioral features, such as insistence on sameness, inability to be changed, difficulty in shifting attention, repetitive behaviors, literal understanding. On the other side, it is absence of usual developmental and behavioral features, such as lack of interest in people, difficulty in recognizing faces and facial expressions. Language is delayed, absent or lost, poor motor coordination, and so on. With all these behaviors and conditions, there are problems that co-occur, such as neuropsychological conditions, ADHD, for example, neurological disorders such as epilepsy, learning disabilities and difficulties, health problems, psychiatric disorders like anxiety, depression, and so on. Because of all these behaviors and conditions, autism is considered a spectrum condition because it affects people in many different ways. Throughout the history, autism has been known as autistic spectrum condition, pervasive developmental disorder, Asperger's syndrome, and today, since 2013, because of all these different conditions I've mentioned, all of them go now under the same umbrella called autism spectrum disorder. Let's have a look at some scientific facts and what we know in numbers. 1 in 59 people will have autism. These numbers are increasing because of general awareness and people getting better diagnosis. Autism affects all populations, so all ethnic and socioeconomic groups, although minority groups tend to be diagnosed later and less often. Autism is more common in males than females. Boys are more likely, or 4 times more likely, to be diagnosed with autism than girls. There is no single cause, and also there is no known cure for autism. So let's first have a look at some myths and some misconceptions about what causes autism. So first, there is a myth that autism is a disease. Autism is not a disease. Autistic people are definitely not ill. And autism cannot be cured with medicine. Autism, in fact, is a neurodevelopmental disorder that can manifest itself in communication impairment or difficulty in social skills and interaction. Autistic people can still live completely independent, meaningful, healthy lives, especially with the right treatment. So no, it is not a disease. Also, there is a widespread misconception that autism is caused by vaccines. Over the last 2 decades, extensive research has asked whether there's any link between childhood vaccinations and autism. The result for this research is vaccines do not cause autism. Also, there is no evidence of parenting defects or emotionally induced autism. So it is also a myth that autism is caused by bad parenting. Also, there is no biological markers, so no hormones or genes responsible. So it is a myth that it is a biological disorder based on genetic pattern. There is also a myth that individuals with autism are all genius, or on the other side, they are intellectually disabled. So a misconception among the myths about autism that they all have savant skills maybe comes from pop culture media like the movie Rain Man or TV show The Big Bang Theory. The existence of savant syndrome is not a myth, it is a real thing. But what is a myth is the assumption that all autistic people have some extraordinary and exceptional mental abilities. So another myth that is caused by lack of understanding that autistic people are all different in ability is that they all have intellectual disabilities. So the truth is that some people with autism have intellectual disability, but some people don't. Some autistic people can speak and communicate verbally, others can't. Some autistic people have higher IQs than other people, and some have IQ levels within the average range. So there is a wide range of skills, abilities, and communication levels among people on the autism spectrum. And other myth is that autism can be outgrown. Autism is a lifelong disorder, and there is no cure for autism through either therapy or medicine. So it is a spectrum, and autistic people are affected in different ways. So autism can't be outgrown, but it can be treated. In Swedish Specialized Center for Special Needs, we treat, for example, lack of communication by teaching children communication and social interaction. So we treat symptoms, not the underlying condition. So we don't try to outgrow the problem, but we want to make sure that the child is able to adapt. So all the characteristics of autism spectrum disorder can go under these core symptoms. All, not all, so autistic children can have impaired social interaction, impaired social imagination, impaired social communication, and restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior. So here, under these characteristics, we can put that, for example, they don't make an eye contact, they can smile or laugh unexpectedly, or they prefer to be left alone, they produce unexpected noise, they show lack of interest in people, they have difficulties in recognizing faces and facial expressions, they have difficulties to develop joint attention. For example, if somebody is pointing with a finger in the direction, they will only see the finger and they will not have a look at the direction pointed. Also, they have difficulties in pretend play. For example, in games like to pretend to be a doctor and put themselves in other shoes, and so on. That's why autism is considered, as I said, spectrum condition, as there are many, many different ways that children and adults can be affected. Because of all these conditions and behaviors that I've mentioned, we can say that children and people in general with the autism spectrum disorder face different challenges. So first of all, communication challenges, which is obvious as if they cannot make an eye contact or have no facial expressions, or some of them are not verbal, they will be having a lot of communication challenges. They will have difficulties in recognizing emotions and intentions in others. Even recognizing one's own emotions and expressing these emotions. So because they don't understand, for example, sarcasm, body language, metaphors, they can be bullied, or they can, if they, for example, don't make an eye contact, they can be perceived as rude, without emotions, manipulative, or even selfish. So it is difficult to communicate their emotions, how they feel, not only because they are not verbal, because they also don't show facial expressions. Also, they might have a lot of difficulties in sensory processing with all different senses, and because of all these conditions, they might feel anxious, depressed, and feel awkwardness in the social aspects. In our center, we believe that an early intervention is a key to success. So how can we do the screening for our child? And how can we ask ourselves, is there any red flag or possible signs that our child has autism? We can ask ourselves, does my child make an eye contact? Does my child have hand stereotypes? Does my child have a strange look or posture, or make unexpected noise and sounds? And how about speech? Is it delayed, or is there any regression? For example, oh, my child spoke before, but now he doesn't speak. So here we emphasize on early screening and early intervention.
Thank you so much for that, Yatranka. So I'm going to be discussing the challenges parents face. With an autism diagnosis, it can bring on many different feelings for parents. Some of you may feel an initial period of panic or distress. That is completely normal. Others may experience a feeling of relief as they are now able to put a name on what's happening. However, regardless of the different feelings towards the diagnosis, you may face challenges too. For instance, you may feel quite overwhelmed with the flow of information provided to you after the initial diagnosis. This information could be regarding the condition itself, possible treatment, and intervention plans. Moreover, this information may feel like it's coming from all sides: specialists, doctors, therapists, teachers, family members, and even the internet. This can create confusion over the nature of the information. Who's telling you the truth? Is there an actual cure like your neighbor told you? Does your child have autism, or will you grow out of it? And is there something you could have done to prevent this? Such information may follow the realization that this might be hard financially, which could cause final frustration between the two parents. This will then increase the feeling of stress and anxiety. This is especially evident when parents want to provide what's best for the children, but are worried of the financial aspect of treatment. Moreover, You may worry about the future of your child, your future, and the future of your family. Indeed, this stressful time may cause a strain on your family. Moreover, such concern is regarding if your child has been diagnosed with ASD will ever be able to lead on an independent life. For instance, you may struggle to find the balance between work, getting your child the best care, having a social life, taking care of your other children. This may then bring up a lot of feelings of guilt and sadness. Finally, one of the challenges you may face during this situation is unsupportive family members or friends. They may be in denial regarding your child's condition. This may lead you to feel isolated and alone in this journey. Although worry not, this is not the case. This then brings up the importance of understanding the different reactions to diagnosis and how helpful a support system is in such situation is. So, depending on various factors, each family and family members within the same family may react differently to the diagnosis of autism. After the diagnosis, you as a parent and other family members frequently experience a range of rather uncomfortable emotions, even in instances where you may or may have not suspected for a while that something was up. On the contrary, even if the diagnosis came out of the blue, many parents experience shock after hearing the words, "Your child has autism spectrum disorder." During this time, after receiving the diagnosis, you may go through what we call the 5 stages of grief. These stages are not linear, have no timeline. Every person may spend a different amount of time in each stage. Some may skip stages or may even go back to a stage. For instance, you may go back and forth between bargaining and depression. You or the people around you may go through periods of denial and refusing to believe this is happening. During this time, you may struggle and refuse to listen to facts or read anything about the diagnosis. You will do your best to shield yourself from the word autism. But the denial may be your way of coping with this new diagnosis. It is helping you get through this hard period. It is very important to be aware of these stages in order to make sure they don't interfere with making decisions about your child's treatment. During this stage, you or people around you may say phrases like, "There's nothing wrong with my child, they'll outgrow it," or "I was the same at their age, I outgrew it." Some parents mourn some of their hopes and dreams they had for their child before they are able to move on. There will be probably times when you feel sad. Allowing yourself to feel sadness can help you grow. You have every right to feel sad and to express it in ways that are comfortable to you. Then there's a stage of anger. Usually, but not always, it occurs once the parent realizes denial simply can't continue. During this stage, you will question and will feel angry and frustrated. This anger may be directed at yourself, your spouse, or other people for somehow causing this or not realizing earlier. The anger could also be directed sometimes onto the child or the siblings of the child for being normal or healthy, which is a quite heavy feeling to have and can cause the parents to feel guilty. Moreover, this anger could be directed at medical professionals and educators who could have ignored the signs your child was displaying and what your parents' concern as normal. On the other hand, the anger could be directed at professionals who diagnosed your child and are trying to help. Finally, such anger and frustration could also be linked, as we mentioned, to financial matter. Anger is a healthy and expected reaction to the feelings of stress that come with your child's diagnosis. Expressing your anger in natural ways is healthy at times. There are times you might feel isolated and lonely as well. These feelings come from a variety of sources when you experience a diagnosis or other significant life changes. Loneliness may also come from the fact that you simply don't feel you have the time to contact your family or friends. You may also feel that if you did reach out for others, they wouldn't understand or be supportive. Finally, you may also try to bargain your way out of the situation, promising the universe that if your child wakes up with no problems, you will give it your all, or that you'll wake up the next day and you are the one with the ASD. This is a completely normal stage. This is your way of trying to understand what's happening. Depression, on the other hand, is a commonly accepted form of grief. In fact, most people associate depression immediately with grief, as it is a present emotion. It represents the emptiness we feel when we are living in a reality and realize the diagnosis is here to stay. In this stage, you may withdraw from life, feel numb, live in a fog, and not want to get out of bed. The word might seem too much and too overwhelming for you to face. You don't want to be around others and don't feel like talking about experienced feelings of hopelessness. It's easy to become overwhelmed with your emotions and concerns about what the future may hold. Painful emotions are natural. If you accept your reaction and acknowledge your feelings, you will be able to move forward and begin to advocate for your child. Emotions are powerful. If you deny your feelings or ignore them, they will often surface in unpleasant ways. Ultimately, you will reach the last stage of grief, acceptance. Although your life and the life of your child may not look like what you had planned, you have now changed your expectation. However, you still hold the same goal to help your child live a happy life. Once you reach this stage, you will readily work to advocate for your child and work with your child's team in an effort to provide the best treatment possible. This then brings up parent support. One of the most helpful strategies in the face of challenges is building yourself a strong support system. This will help you learn how to manage your feelings when faced with the challenges of raising a child with ASD. Hence, during this time, you may consider the following strategies to feel well supported. First, try not to bottle up how you feel. Even if you've reached a stage of acceptance, you may still experience a range of emotions that may feel very overwhelming. Hence, it's very important in these instances to have someone you can talk to. That could be a friend, family member, or even a counselor. This will also ensure that you are dealing with your every emotion as it comes by, hence decreasing the possible anxiety and depression you may be experiencing. This will also help empower you in order to do what's best for you and your family. Another idea includes joining a support group for parents with children with ASD. During these sessions, you may meet parents in similar stages as you, or who may already have passed through the stages you are currently at. Hence, other parents who have children on the autism spectrum can be excellent sources of information. They'll provide you with hope, information, success stories, and the challenges to expect and how to overcome them. Moreover, as time goes by, you will also be able to raise awareness about your experience, help other parents that are in your position. This will help give you purpose and empower you. Furthermore, part of this support will come from the healthcare team that is treating your child and educating you as a parent. The amazing team treating you and your child is a great source to refer to with any possible questions or concern. They will be able to provide you with high-quality sources and information regarding any of your concerns. They are here to help you and your child during these times and provide the best care possible. Finally, and most importantly, remember that you need to be able to support yourself during these times. Hence, taking care of yourself is vital. If you are burnt out and don't take some rest, you may end up running into problems. Hence, ask for help. Take an evening off with your partner or child. Go out with your friends, focus on your needs. And remember, taking care of yourself is very important. Hence, don't feel guilty about it. Next, we will be talking about supporting your other children. Brothers and sisters of children with autism frequently face their own challenges too. Much more is expected from these siblings. They often need help understanding the emotional reactions they are experiencing as a result of the many changes occurring in their life. This support is essential to their future well-being. Such challenges may include not understanding what is happening with their sibling and why they need more help. This may evoke feelings of anger and jealousy over unequal treatment. They also may worry about their sibling and the future, hence sometimes some of these children may act out due to the range of emotions they are feeling. Hence, it is pivotal to support your child. Some strategies include educating your child about autism in an age-appropriate way. Help them learn how to play with their sibling and how to form a relationship. There are simple things you can do that will help with this, including teaching your other children how to get their siblings' attention and give simple instructions, and encouraging your children to play with sensory-friendly toys with their brother or sister. It's also important to praise all of your children when they play well together. Find or even create a support group for your child with other siblings with ASD. This will help them share their experience and feelings if needed. Provide your child with counseling to help them deal with their emotions. And try to plan one-on-one time with each of your children to help them feel special, cared for, and loved. Finally, and most importantly, you may notice after the diagnosis of your child, you will feel like you are fulfilling many roles, such as a parent, a therapist, and teacher, and many more. However, one of the most important roles you will have is becoming your child's advocate. This role will be a lifelong journey that will require a variety of skills, depending on your situation. Such skills and principles include: take responsibility regarding your child's diagnosis and treatment. Become a leader and always try to do what you think is best for your child. Try to learn the facts when it comes to ASD. Read high quality resources and always ask professionals if you have any questions. This will help avoiding any myths or false information be spread. Think critically. Always question everything with the knowledge you have. You have the right to know why, for instance, the treatment being offered is offered for your child and why it would be helpful. Be proactive. Moreover, know that your collaboration and involvement with your child's treatment is crucial and help with your child's journey tremendously. Hence, when possible, try to be involved and ask how you may continue said program at home. And finally, and most importantly, be a voice for your child and their condition. Always educate others. This will help decrease misinformation and hence help increase awareness for autism and create a more inclusive world. Thank you. And now I will be passing this to Sarah.
Thank you, Natasha. So now we know what autism is and the symptoms, but what happens when we suspect that our child has autism? What do we do now? So in the slide, you'll see that there are 3 steps. First, identification. Second, referral and assessment. Thirdly, intervention. So let me tell you about step 1, what it is about, and then the other steps. For identification and screening, what you may expect to do is firstly get a diagnosis. So book an appointment to see a pediatrician or a psychiatrist. The doctor will look at your child's developmental history and behavior. The second step is your doctor will refer you to a trained specialist, such as a developmental pediatrician or a child psychologist. The specialist will observe the child, give a structured test, maybe do a play-based assessment, and also ask you questions during the meeting and to fill out questionnaires. So the result of this evaluation will determine whether your child needs treatment or early intervention services or both. Once the diagnosis is confirmed, the specialist will recommend some programs to help your child and also discuss with you the details. So there are many different options and approaches, such as ABA therapy, speech language therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and nutritional therapy. So there are specific programs tailored for a child because not all programs are suited for a child. Every child is different. The specialist will guide you on the best intervention available for your child. So this slide is about how to support your child at home. And this can also be done at the mall, the park, anywhere. So remember that it takes longer for a child to learn things. So with every activity you do, you're going to have to put some thought in it and some planning. The more you do it, the more it sets your child up for success. And the more you go and try activities, the easier it gets for your child and your family, and then you're able to enjoy more. So first we have the visual schedule. Let your child know what will happen next. So you can do this by creating a schedule for them to see and for them to know how their day will go. So for example, you can take a sheet or a whiteboard and add a column for each day and add items for them to do, such as Sunday, it will include breakfast, math class, music class, break, dinner, and so on. Now, this will really help with giving tasks, assignments, or chores for them to do. They will know when to expect it and know when the task will end. The second one is set expectations, be consistent, and follow through. For example, if you tell your child that he gets to have a cookie after finishing his homework, do give him the cookie. If you promise to play with him, do play with him. So if you do this consistently, your child will come to know what is expected and will believe in what you say. The third one here is give choices. So all children, even us adults, would like to feel a sense of control over the world. So giving them choices will help with their sense of self and self-esteem. For example, you ask them to put on the red shirt and they do not follow. So ask them if they'd like to put the red shirt or the blue shirt, and the child will pick. Another example is, if your child doesn't want to stop watching TV, ask the child, do you want to watch for 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes? So this strategy is really helpful. Now for this slide, this is a continuation of how to support my child. The first one here is called redirect, because we have to distract and redirect problematic behavior instead of saying stop or no. For example, what this means is if your child is at the store and running around and you don't want him to do that, don't say like stop or no, because he might not fully understand that. Instead, show him what you want him to do. So if you want him to walk nicely, then show him how to do that and ask him to follow that instead of running in the store. The second one is environment. This is really important. So be mindful of situations where a child might feel overwhelmed. So this can be like a crowded mall or even a big family gathering. If the child seems overstimulated from sensory input in the environment, bring him to a quieter place. So the last one here is stay calm. Stay calm when interacting with a child. I know this can be hard at times, but make every effort to be as calm as possible. So here, when we interact with our children, remember that they understand things differently. They feel overwhelmed and may not understand us like other people understanding us. So we have 3 simple do's and don'ts to follow. For communication, don't use sarcasm and don't use metaphors such as "you light up my life," nor communicate using facial expressions. So for the metaphors, they might take it literally and do not understand that. And for the facial expressions, if you're angry or upset or you didn't want them to do the thing they did and you have a frown on your face, instead of showing your facial expression, be specific and clear and explain what you meant or explain certain social cues. For the eye contact, do not pressure them. Also, do not force them to do eye contact. So in ABA therapy, there are programs that help with this. And so instead, do wait and give them time, because learning how to make eye contact to them is like taking a class and learning division or learning photosynthesis. Therefore, learning to make eye contact will take time and they will be needed to be taught. So here, when your child is having a meltdown or a tantrum or crying, try avoid getting frustrated and don't yell at them because they are frustrated as well. Try to connect with your child, find what is causing their frustration, because once they are calm, you are calm. And when you are calm, it is easier for them to be calm. If both of you are frustrated, neither of you will feel better later. So instead, also use kind and encouraging words. So we have reached the end of the presentation and we'd like to play a game with you. So this game is called Guess the Emotion. There are 4 images of different facial expressions and you will have to guess whether the guy is happy, sad, disgusted, scared, or any of the emotions you can think of. So shall we go ahead and try the first one? I will give you like 3 seconds to guess. So guess the first one, I'll give you 3 seconds. Okay, so what did you think it was? If your guess was happy, that's correct. Good job. Now it will get a little bit harder. For 2, 3, and 4, I will give you 10 seconds to guess all of them together, and then I'll tell you the answers, starting now. Okay, time's up, and we'll go ahead and figure out what 2, 3, 4 were. Now, this is a bit different because they may seem similar, but somewhat different at the same time. According to the database, number 2 is fearfully surprised. Number 3 is fearfully disgusted. And number 4 is angrily surprised. So I'm not sure what your answers were, but did you answer them like number 2, scared, number 3, very scared, number 4, scared and confused? Because honestly, that's what I would have answered. And the point of this game was to demonstrate how a person with autism may feel like. Sometimes they can guess number 1 as happy, but not all the time. They might find it confusing to know when a person is happy or sad, just like how you may have felt confused with pictures 2, 3, and 4. If you answered picture 1 with ease and picture 2, 3, and 4 with difficulty, imagine what a person with autism must feel like. So not being able to tell between different facial expressions and not knowing when you're sad or angry. So when you're sad or angry, it's not that they don't care about you, they just really struggle with this. I will now move on to our last slide, which is the resources section. Here are some links to learn more about autism. The first link includes easy-to-use calming strategies for a child with autism. So Ryan is a board-certified music therapist, and he uses calming music and effective strategies to help regulate the child's sensory system. The second link is about Alex and his experience with autism. So we are able to ignore and pay attention to what we want to pay attention to. However, Alex struggles with this. Lastly, the third link is about an autism virtual reality experience. In this video, you will experience what a person with autism feels like. So this takes scene at a mall, and there will be flashing lights, bright colors, loud and sudden noises. We hope this webinar has been informational and useful to you. We'd like to thank you for watching until the end. And if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to contact us through email or our social media. Thank you once again.